Hi, this is a video from Zimmer Epical about the time and investment to bring an IVD to market. So we're going to address this question: what does it cost and how long does it take to bring an IVD to market, by using examples from the last almost 40 years. So one of the first examples is ISTAT. ISTAT launched in about 1983, or we'll say launched, the company was founded in 1983. It's a single cartridge per analyte. They have a lot of the blood panel, for example, and it was easy to, not easy, but it's fair to say that Biosite is similar to ISTAT in terms of microfluidic cartridge. Now Abaxis is different from the previous two. That Abaxis actually had a rota where they would do a host of blood tests on a single sample. So I suppose the first thing to say is the investment into the ISTAT back in approximately 1983 was north of 50 million. You can see that Biosite and Abaxis were launching, or not launching, were founded in similar times, and they were up in the range of 30 to 40 million. Now Cepheid, they were doing more molecular biology, and they were launched later, and their investment was in the sort of 80 to 90 million range. Now Epical, I will re-mention them in this video, because Epical and ISTAT actually have the same founders, and so we can learn some lessons from the difference in time and investment needed when you go from ISTAT to Epical. Sphere Medical, they really had sort of two stages of product development. There was an initial product and a second product, and I'll mention it later on, and I think they went into liquidation in approximately 2020. Tearlab, these are a bit of an outlier. They have the simplest assay, at least, out of all of these, because they're really doing a kind of impedance or conductivity measurement on the tear film. So there's not sort of biology so much involved. It's just measuring the conductivity of the tear film to determine dry eye. And we have Claros Dx, which I think now is Opco, and they were doing PSA testing, prostate specific antigen. So the average investment to sort of get these companies' first products on the market was 38 million. If we take out Tearlab, because they were low cost, they were around about 7 million, that number comes to 42 million. So the average. Now the issue with this number is we're talking about companies that were founded pre-2010. So as I say, ISTAT was founded in 1983. It had approximately 50 million of investments, and then you had some companies invested in 2005. Now the question is if you're going to launch a company today, what sort of investment is this going to take? And so if we adjust it for inflation using the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, we're going to move all these numbers from their sort of 1983 to 2005 pricing. We'll bring it to 2021. And so now we've essentially just inflated all the prices based on the inflation from their years to 2021. And what that does then is show us that, if they were to be starting today, what's the investment they would now be needing to raise to achieve this, let's say, the same outcomes. And that comes to 74.7 million, which intuitively feels right, that we've come from, approximately, double the price, over the years. If we again took out Tearlab, that would be 83.8 million. Now, this graph really shows you the years to launch their first product, from sort of from launching the business to launching the product. You can see here that some of the longer ones were Sphere Medical and ISTAT. I'll make a special comment about Sphere Medical in a minute. Sort of the medium term guys were the Tearlab and Cepheid. Some of them were, nobody was less than 5 years. Let's say that. Sphere Medical, really the data I'm looking at here, they actually had a sort of product 1 and a product 2, or generation 1 and a generation 2. So In fact, they went on to do generation 2, and I think they went into liquidation, as I say, in 2020. So really the average is actually higher than 7 years. So most people take more than 7 years, and anecdotally that does feel very correct. Now ISTAT and Epical are interesting, because ISTAT was launched in 1983 and Epical was launched in 2001, and you can see from here that the adjusted investment in ISTAT was north of 140 million, and the Epical investment was somewhere sort of less than 70 million. And also, if we look at the years, Epical took 6 years to develop and ISTAT took 9 years to develop. So by comparing ISTAT and Epical, you can say that these were the same founders, and when they did I wouldn't say a similar product, but they did Epical is the sort of second generation product from ISTAT. The second time round, the team had managed to reduce the time to launch by a third, and they managed to reduce the cost of launch by 50%. And I think that's, you know, something at Zimmer Epical we I would say do better than that, but because of the experience in doing this kind of work in terms of contract development and contract manufacturing of IVDs, you generally can get people to market at a much reduced cost and time than would have otherwise been achieved. And I think this public data showing how the ISTAT team, which, you know, they developed the product, essentially they sold the product to Abbott, and then they went on to form Epocal. You know, their that experience and those numbers show you how an experienced team can reduce both time and cost. So if I was to summarize it, it's this: 2021 funding would suggest that if you were to do an IVD, you would need to raise about 83.3 million. That could be conservative. If you look at Q is a company down in San Diego. They're called, the full name is I think Q Health, and they've raised 235 million USD dollars in order to do their work. So, you know, even though we've calculated it from all those other companies of 83.3 million, some companies are raising closer to $250 million to do an IVD. The timing, based on all those companies, from ISTAT to Epical to Cepheid to Abaxis, you know, companies take more than 7 years to launch an IVD or to get regulatory approval. And an experienced team, and I would say ZP is better than this, can offer over a third in reduction in the time and over 50% in a reduction in costs. So if you have any questions regarding IVD development and IVD manufacturing, please contact us at Zimmer & Peacock. Okay, thanks very much.